Williamsville Sports Weekly is brought to you by your local country financial representative, Ed Legner. Please contact Ed for all your insurance and financial planning needs. His office is located at 318 Crossing Drive in Sherman, and he can be reached at 217-496-2341. But for now, enjoy the show. Welcome to Williamsville Sports Weekly, an in-depth look at both BB and Bullet athletics, hosted by our athletic director Adam Euchre and former Lady Bullets basketball coach John Hampton.
Welcome to episode 96 of Williamsville Sports Weekly, presented by Ed Legner, Country Insurance Financial Representative out of Sherman, Illinois. You can visit Ed for all your insurance and financial needs. John, we haven't talked in a while. A variety of things. Spring break was sprinkled in there, but as we're sitting here, it's hard to believe that it's May 2nd, and spring sports postseason will be starting next week. Soccer will be starting regionals next Wednesday. Seeding comes out for baseball and softball today. Track sectionals next week. It's gone by quick.
Yeah, and it'll just zoom by here, especially when you start getting the postseason. As soon as that gets rolling, just like with fall or winter, but in the summer, and hopefully we'll have some teams. Traditionally our baseball and softball teams have been able to go quite a ways, and sometimes they'll even play when school's out, which is always I find kind of fun because you get to go during the day and go watch the games and stuff, and it's usually good weather by that time. But yeah, it's all downhill from here. And you hear seniors always talking about countdowns and stuff, but even they'll say it'll go really quick here. You ask them in a couple of weeks, it's going to go pretty quick.
Yeah, it's amazing we were able to get any games in yesterday with the amount of rain we had over the weekend. I was surprised when I walked out to Jane Grebner Field and then our baseball facility yesterday about 8 a.m. and no standing water either on the field or in the outfield. An unbelievable credit to our maintenance department and both our coaching staffs, but to get those games in yesterday was just absolutely amazing. I almost had a soccer game over here because Warrensburg had some field issues and they couldn't get transportation then. But to be able to get those games in based on what we had is just remarkable.
That says a lot about our facilities. I mean, you talk about an acid test, as far as being able to hold water. I don't know too many times that we'll have tougher conditions than that to get a game in. And that's amazing that you said there was no standing water. They didn't have to work too much with it. That's incredible.
The other thing I want to touch on before we kind of shift gears and kind of go to focus this week, yesterday was announced Brandy Donnelly making the collegiate USA team. I think there's 26 girls that go on that team. Basically, it's like a second tryout for Team USA, which then competes in the Olympics. Obviously, she's competing at a high level in the Big Ten at the libero position. Obviously, it'll be an interesting senior year for her as she goes under a new head coach coming in. But that's a huge accomplishment, and to have someone of that caliber playing at that high level coming out of Williamsville, Illinois is a huge mark to this community and to Coach Carlson and the Bullet volleyball program. Oh
my goodness! I mean, it just puts another layer to we all knew how amazing it was the accomplishment she's had in the Big Ten, but this says that not only do our national coaches, but the major college coaches all across the country know who she is and what she does, and boy, it's just an incredible. It's hard to even fathom being able to do that, and for her to come here from Williamsville and work her way up, that's pretty awesome. And I've said this many times, and I even said it last night when I saw it on TV. I told my girlfriend Shannon, I was like, the great thing about her, she was a better student than she was an athlete. She's one of the best students that ever come through here as far as just being focused. And she was just a tremendous student. It's hard to explain how, if you could get every single kid to be that focused, it would be amazing what we could do educationally. But yeah, she's just one of a kind, and she's doing a great job and represents us really well.
I guess really the only similarity that you would have to be able to compare that to is Mike Tisdale, because he went over to play in Europe for a little bit, didn't he, after he graduated?
He did, and actually before his senior year, he was selected. It's pretty similar to there were 12 college kids selected to go practice against that year's dream team. So he got to go play against LeBron and all those guys, and they wanted a 7-footer that could kind of play the European style of ball. They were going to see in, I think it was the World Championships that year. So he actually came up here and we did some work with the international basketball and stuff. It was pretty cool, and and he was a final cut. He was the final person cut for the Sixers and played a little bit in the D League and had a tryout in Europe, and eventually decided he didn't want to go that route of kind of being a vagabond, as if I go from team to team to team, and eventually maybe trying to catch on in the NBA. So he came back here, and he's built a pretty good life for him. And actually, they moved to the Williamsville School District, he and his wife, and they have 2 kids. So we'll be seeing his kids come through here in a little bit too.
He realized it's better to be a Bullet, so
They really wanted to come and live in our school district, which says a lot, because they had a really good experience in the Riverton School District. They were both good students and good athletes, and they were drawn over here by the school system. Yeah.
Want to shift gears? We'll be talking to Coach Fandel in the coaches segment, head coach of Lady Bullets soccer team, and then seniors Allie Karras and Anni Penk. And the big focus that I had in those interviews, and you'll hear it in the girls do a great job, articulating it and talking about some of the struggles they've had. But the thing I want to talk a little bit about you with is pressure to maintain success, because obviously people look here, and one of the things that drew me here into the position to apply for the position that I'm currently in is the success that we've had. And I just want to go through a few numbers here real quick. Baseball obviously lost last night, and Dave Kane put a tweet out that the Bullets are probably out of contention for their 7th straight conference title. Volleyball this year was going for their 5th straight conference title. Obviously the girls basketball program, back-to-back conference titles. Softball, 25 out of the last 27 years winning the Sagamore Conference. And then the regional titles they have is just, I think I don't know if it's 12 straight, I'd have to pull it up here. Football, 40 straight regular season wins before they ended up having a loss. Girls soccer last year, obviously placing 4th in state, winning the first Sagamore Conference title ever on the girls soccer side. But, when it becomes that expectation, and then you kind of have a down year, I think that's, not only hard on coaches, hard on kids, but, one thing you've always said, a marquee of a great program and a great athletic department is that they're always there at the top, they're always competing, they're always in contention. And to win that many in a row in that many multiple sports, that's just, and obviously I'm going to toot the horn of it because I'm the head of the department, but anywhere that's just unbelievable.
Yeah, the crazy part is the overall balance of the athletic program to do that. You've got every school's kind of got their marquee sport, but here, you literally from year to year, it's hard to say, boy, that's the best program. That's the best program. It's really hard to do, and which is pretty cool because no one understands how hard it is to do that in one sport, but to have all of these athletes and to share these athletes in a small school and to be able to compete at a high level is just crazy. Even I think boys soccer's won 5 or 6 regionals in a row.
Five straight. Boys soccer, didn't mention them.
You're talking about boys and girls basketball being successful, and yeah, it's tough to build a program, but man, ask anybody, college, high school, it's really hard to keep it at that level because you can't recruit. We're a public school. You can't go out there and just recruit players off your reputation of a program. So it's going to be cyclical. And the big thing is, even if you're so-called down year, you're competitive and still a threat. My goodness, it's really hard to do. And for us to be able to do that across the board is, it's hard to explain it because really no one else is doing it. And we're in a nice situation. We're one of the bigger schools in our conference, but we're not one of the bigger schools in 2A. So, for us to have our postseason success that we've had in every sport, it's incredible. And a lot of that is, if you look across the board, our coaches are pretty stable, and our staffs have been pretty stable. And even with our athletic directors, with Mr. Furlow and with you doing the job, it's been ran really well. And with our prior superintendent, with Mr. Root, he started here as a coach, so he was a big supporter of athletics. Would have been a really darn good high school coach if he wanted to go into it. But yeah, it's all been set up really well for success. But boy, we all know the best laid plans a lot of times don't come to fruition, what they have here, and that's with every sport. So I think sometimes we call a down year. It's still a pretty good year, but like you said, expectations are great. But sometimes if you don't meet those, you got to let the kids understand. I think our kids do understand. Kids bounce back a lot quicker than adults do. And if the kids understand where they should be if they're competing at the level they're supposed to be or even overachieving, and I think with some of our programs, we've actually had some lean years talent-wise where we've been able to overachieve. And you got to give kids credit to where they still live up to that standard of teams that might have been more talented than them.
You know, the softball, I was looking it up as you were talking here, 13 out of the last 15 regional titles.
Yeah.
And, you know, you look at the, you know, 2 of those years they didn't win it. One, you know, in 01, 02, they finished 21-4, don't win a regional title. And I can go back and I guarantee they probably lost the title game. And then 05, 06, 27-7.
Right.
Those,
right. Yeah.
It's amazing. And, you know, the comparison I kind of think about is the Buffalo Bills. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they go to 4 straight Super Bowls. And if you haven't had a chance to watch that 30 for 30, it's an unbelievable one that's done. But they talk about how it was just so hard to do that, but they're viewed as failures.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so tough. I know when I was at Pittsfield, they were on a streak. We ended up with a streak, I think 19 out of 21 regionals won. And people would say stuff like, well, you must be in an easy regional. No, ask the other teams that are in that regional. They'll say it's the toughest one in the state to win because someone else only went 2 out of 21 years. Well, just keeping these levels are just crazy. And if you don't, winning the state championship is not, that's great. But my goodness, if you exceed past where you feel like your talent level is, if somebody in the postseason beats you that's better than you, you've had a good year. If you've made it to that point, you've had a good postseason run. I don't care if it's the second game of the regional. If somebody better than you beats you, you've had a good run. Because we all know how the pairings and stuff kind of work out. Sometimes things just don't work out real well. Sometimes they will open wide up for you. But the fact that you're always in the game, you're always there, and you're always competing, that's the amazing thing about all of our programs, to be honest with you.
It's, you know, I you know, how you said, you know, overachieving. I would say our boys basketball team probably overachieved this year based on what they had lost in terms of the scoring off of last year's team.
Yeah,
you know, that's a perfect example right there of someone. But those kids bought in. They bought into the program. They bought in the process Coach Beard was teaching them, and because of that and them internally believing, they were able to get there.
Absolutely, and the fact that they win in other sports, and there's kind of in the back of their mind like, well, we're supposed to win this game, or we're supposed to compete with the best teams, and making the schedules tougher across the board has helped with that too, because now they believe they can play against anybody. You know, it's not just we can dominate the smaller schools. You know, they know they can play with anybody too. So I think that's also helped accelerate all of the programs across the board. It's raised the level of play in all those programs.
Obviously, I don't want to give away too much in the next set of interviews, but both Coach Fandel and both senior girls, Karras and Anni Penk, touch on that, and I think you're in for a treat with their perspective, and an adult perspective, and even a kid perspective. But you know, they do hit on, you know, kind of how you said kids seem to bounce back a little bit quicker.
Oh, no doubt.
Than adults do. So
no doubt.
You're in for a treat with both sets here. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at WCSD15 Sports for all your news and score updates on both BB and Bullet athletics throughout the 16-17 school year. And you can subscribe to this podcast as well, Williamsville Sports Weekly. Just look it up on iTunes. You can subscribe to it just so it comes to your news feed every week. Otherwise, it is up on YouTube. Just look for Williamsville Sports Weekly. You can subscribe to our channel there where this is posted, as well as some other videos that we have, or on the main page of the website, WCSD15.org. Just click on athletics on the left-hand side of the page. This episode, as well as all the past episodes, are there as well, and on Facebook, facebook.com/WHS Bullets. So when we return, we'll be joined by head girls soccer coach Joe Fandel.
Next time you're in the market for insurance or financial planning, stop by and see Country Financial Representative Ed Legner at 318 Crossing Drive in Sherman, or give him a call at 217-496-2341. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Williamsville Sports Weekly, presented by Ed Legner, Country Insurance Financial Representative out of Sherman, Illinois. You can visit Ed for all your insurance and financial needs. Sitting with us right now, head girls soccer coach Joe Fandel. And Joe, a little bit different of a year this year, and a variety of reasons have kind of played into this. One of the things, you graduate a huge senior class, some injuries, and you have to move some people around. But as I said on senior night to the girls that are leaving the program this year, not kind of how things went the way that we maybe have planned. Kind of talk to us a little bit about that, and how 17 is different than 16.
Yeah, we did lose a very strong senior class last year, and the seniors we had coming in this year had put some time and effort in and had pretty much tried to take some leadership, but then injuries in their volleyball season and first soccer game of the season took out two of the senior leaders. We've had to move some freshmen into the starting lineup, and they've responded well. Our defense was kind of rebuilt a little bit, but when we've gotten the last 5 games or so, everyone's kind of settled into their roles, and we've been very competitive. With starting with the Peoria Christian game, we lost 2-1. Riverton, the number 2 seed in our regional, we lost 2-1 to. St. Thomas More, we lost 3-0 to them. But in all those games, we were very competitive, had chances to put some goals on, and if not tie, maybe possibly win.
You talk about we talked about the scoring aspect. Your top 2 scorers graduate, both Abute sisters who are at Marshall playing now, and then your third returner, or your third top scorer from last year, who was a junior last year, Anni Penk, comes in, loser in that first game against Quincy Notre Dame. So you really had to kind of manufacture goals at this point and put people into different roles that they may not have been used to compared to last season.
Yeah, Maddie Iman, a freshman coming in, has a very good soccer background, but she's always played defense. So I figured I could try her at forward, and we were getting some pressure, but she just wasn't feeling comfortable. We moved her back to defense, and that's kind of shored up our defense because our goals against average has really dropped since we've made that change. Courtney Wilhelm and Tessa Musselman up top, they've really worked well together. I've moved Sydney McCoy out to the wing, and we've got a little more dynamic attack now that we've got her out on the wing. She's got a pretty good foot, gets the ball to the middle, gets us a few more scoring opportunities per game.
Now you talk about having to move someone from defense to offense. How hard is that as a player to move, and then you as a coach? What are some of the things that go through your mind, or different coaching strategies that you have to do when you move a player like that?
It's kind of like rolling the dice because I've had to do it in the past. Like with Emily Davis, she was a defender all the time, and I moved her to forward, and she ended up leading us for 3 straight years in goals scored and stuff. I guess the dice just didn't fall this way for Maddie this year, but it is kind of a gamble because you're taking someone out of their comfort zone. Maybe they're putting too much pressure on themselves. I had to do it when I went to college. When we got to college, I was a forward, and the coach said, "You're playing defense." I wanted to be on the field, so I made the best of it.
Is that an easier move going from offense to defense, or is it defense to offense easier?
I think for me, going from offense to defense was easier because I kind of knew what was going to be coming at me. I could think like the offensive player coming at me, what's his or her next move going to be. Where going from defense to offense, you're the one having to create. You're the one having to try to get the ball in the net and beat somebody, and that's a little harder than trying to stop somebody.
Now, you talked about earlier that Peoria Christian game kind of being a turning point in the season. What do you think it was about that game? Was it the lineup you had? You just keeping the girls positive, focusing on the process. What was that particular game that kind of allowed you to maybe turn the corner per se?
I just felt they were a team that we matched up well with, and it was a Saturday game. I wanted to see how we came out, and it was the end of spring break, so didn't really know what the girls' state of minds were going to be. And we came out, and they have 2 really good center mids, and they each scored 1, but we had attack. I mean, I think that was at the time that was our most shots in the game. So I felt our offense finally started clicking. defensively, giving up 2 goals. I'm okay with that. Goals are going to happen, but it's not like a few years ago when we only gave up 12 the whole year. We're going to give up some here and there, but we've also got to take our chances offensively, which I felt we were doing that game, and that's what kind of I think the girls realized we don't have to just play defense. We can play some offense and be in the games.
Now, when you're a consistent program year in and year out, it's a big deal when people beat you. I know after St. Thomas More beat you, they put a thing out. They had never beat you guys before, and that was a huge milestone for them. The current Riverton coach, Matt Upchurch, he had never beaten you in terms of his coaching career. Pleasant Plains they beat us last year in the tournament, but in a regular season match, they hadn't beat us in a while. What does that tell you about our program, and how does that make you feel as a coach when people kind of rate their season on how they do against the Bullets?
To me, it's a driving force. You want to live up to those expectations other people have for you. And tomorrow night's game against Athens, that's one I think I'm interested to see how the girls come out at, because they beat us after 2 overtimes, and they beat us in a PK shootout. And you would have thought they just qualified to go to state. They were running on the field, dogpiling, and I told all the girls, look at that, remember that, because that knowing that we were going to see them in the Plains tournament, I'm interested to see tomorrow how we come out with that. If we have a little more drive, or I don't want to say payback on our mind, but motivation for a quality game tomorrow.
One thing though, you've kept positivity at the forefront. You've kept class at the forefront. And one of the things I want to reference, and it was brought to my attention on social media after the Litchfield game and the JV game specifically, one of their players got hurt. And without Coach Davidson doing, all of your players went over and, told that particular player they hope that she gets better quickly. How did that make you feel as a coach that those girls took that upon themselves without any, prodding from you guys as a coaching staff?
I was very proud of them. At first, it kind of caught me off guard, because after you shake hands, you out and you shake the ref's hands, and our girls were going away from the refs, so I was kind of like, what are you doing? And then I saw the girl sitting on the back of the golf cart with her ankle in ice, and they were all shaking her hand. Then they went to the refs, and it made me feel good that they just weren't, with the way the season and that game had been going, just that they weren't just like trudging off the field. They looked out for the other team, and were still representing the school in a positive manner.
Now, moving ahead to regionals, obviously, this is your last full week of a regular season. Got a game Monday against Warrensburg-Latham, finishing up the Plains tournament this week. But then heading into regionals. A little bit different this year than compared to last year. Last year we talked about making sure that we stayed, focused and stayed, hot in terms of, getting our goals scored and not having a letdown. This year, with having that time off, how are you taking that differently as an approach as a coach, coming in at the number 6 seed in the regional, facing a Mount Zion team who we beat earlier in the year 1-0 on a late goal by Tessa Musselman?
Talking with the seniors and about it and stuff, I think we're looking fairly positive going towards this regional. Just, hey, we're playing with kind of house money. It's not like the target's on our back. We can come out. What do we have to lose is kind of the attitude, but we have the confidence that we've beat Mount Zion. We played a very good competitive game with Riverton, 2-1 loss. If things go our way and we get the ball bouncing in our direction, we could possibly walk out of there with the regional plaque. And if we do, that's great. If we go down, we have to go out fighting. But if we go out there and we give our best, then we've got a lot of freshmen and sophomores that are hopefully learning what it is to be a Bullet.
Coach, thank you again so much for taking time out of your day. But before I let you go, anything else you'd like to add or tell the listeners out there?
Thanks for your support this year, and hopefully we'll do well in the postseason.
When we return, we'll be joined by senior soccer players Anni Penk and Allie Karras.
If you can't make it out to the game, you don't have to worry about missing a moment of the action by following all BB and Bullet athletic happenings on Twitter at WCUSD15Sports. And now back to the show.
Welcome back to Williamsville Sports Weekly, presented by Ed Legner, Country Insurance Financial Representative out of Sherman, Illinois. You can visit Ed for all your insurance and financial needs. Sitting with us right now, senior soccer players Karras and Anni Penk. And Anni, I kind of want to start with you a little bit. You only got 17 minutes of your senior season. Kind of take us back to Quincy back in March, almost 2 months now, and kind of what went through your mind and, where you've gotten to at this point, kind of accepting the fact that you wouldn't be able to play.
Well, going into the Q&D game, we knew it was going to be a tough game. So we just tried our best, but then within 17 minutes, no contact or anything. Cleat just got stuck in turf, popped my ACL and MCL, and that's what happened. I don't know.
Did you know at that moment you had done something, or were you kind of hoping for the best going in? Because obviously until you get that MRI, you really don't know the results. Kind of what was going through your mind?
Well, after I heard it, I automatically fell down, and I held my knee up to my chest, and I realized I couldn't hold it up anymore. I couldn't bend it. Well, coach came out, the trainer there came out, and it automatically swelled up really big. It just looked like a whole new knee. And the trainer there thought it was my calf because the pain where it was, and on the side he thought it was my meniscus. Well, when we showed Paul, he was thinking patella, and then when I went to the doctor, he for sure knew it was ACL, but he thought it was something else with meniscus and MCL. But thankfully it wasn't meniscus, but it was ACL and MCL.
Obviously, Allie, you lose a huge contributor like Anni, the top returning goal scorer from last year. What kind of goes through your mind at that point? You don't have, obviously we lost a lot of offense in the Abute sisters graduating, and then she goes down. What goes through your mind at that point?
I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a season. We're really going to have some people step up and really want to take control up there in the offense. And I think we have a couple of freshmen who have been doing really good up there, and a couple of juniors, sophomores have come in and they're helping out, and I think it's just kind of, we're working.
And the one thing that I asked you too before we started recording this here was, did you guys feel any pressure or expectation from last year? And you said you felt a lot more pressure last year going in and kind of living up to the seniors. And one thing I asked you, Allie, comparing this to volleyball, you lose one player off the best finish in over 20 years with Abby Galusha graduating, and you kind of went through that same thing earlier this year where you guys felt like it didn't play out like you wanted to, and you had some lessons that you learned from that. Kind of how has that helped you through this soccer season?
Well, for volleyball, we were just so frustrated because we're we only lost one player. We should be doing fine, but you don't realize how much of an impact one player has. And so to lose so many in soccer, it kind of opened my eyes and was okay, we're going to have a lot of leaders gone. We're going to definitely have to be rebuilding and finding new leaders. And it's kind of helped me control my frustration more, because I know it's been rough, and we just have to keep working and hope for the best.
And we'll talk more about that leadership kind of aspect here in a moment. But one thing I want to ask you, Anni, obviously you go out so early in the season. You've had to take on a different role, and you've been on the sidelines. I know one thing Coach Fandel has said is you've been kind of another set of eyes out there. How have you been able to help out in your diminished role in terms of playing, but not so much diminished in your ability to be a leader on the sidelines?
Well, just seeing the girls, our record isn't the best as it was compared to last year. Obviously we get frustrated that we keep losing, the games that we think we should be winning. Well, they get frustrated, I just got to be on the sideline just cheering them up, to stay positive, just find energy to finish. You'll get down on yourself because, let's say, a defender, let's say Allie, a girl, forward just ran past her and scored. There's nothing you can do. She passed 10 other players. So, just building the positivity towards them and helping them stay positive and finding energy to keep playing, really.
Now, Allie, the one thing you talked about is you really focus on going out there and having fun, because ultimately this is still a game, and we all play games because they're fun, and you guys have played soccer for a long time. because it's fun. So talk to us about that and kind of that shift in mindset a little bit.
So I think when we say like go out and have fun, it kind of relieves pressure, you know, because like you're like, well, listen, like if you make a mistake, just brush it off. Like in the whole entire scheme of things, like this is only going to be like your high school season. And I know some people are probably going to want to go play later in life, but like for right now, like you just need to have fun and like just kind of, you know, you only get this once and you kind of just need to just have fun with it.
And the other thing you kind of talked about too was the process, you know, focusing on the process, continuing to focus on the drill work and practice and the game plan that your coaches put out. And you have felt that has really kind of allowed you guys to continue to improve, and you're really playing your strongest soccer here towards the end of the season going to postseason.
Yeah, so like Coach always says, like, if we keep doing what we're doing, the wins will come. Like, it'll keep coming. Like, we just have to work for it. And this year we've had to definitely work harder for wins. But, you know, if we just keep practicing and doing what we're supposed to do, and, like, our positions are still doing what the positions need to be doing, then we can all bring it together and start winning more.
Now, obviously, you guys are finishing up with the Plains tournament this week. Warrensburg on Monday, and then a little bit of time off. How do you think that time off between Warrensburg, which is the 1st of May, and then you don't play again until the 10th, how is that going to refresh you guys, rejuvenate you guys moving into regionals?
So I think it's going to give us some more time to really work on our short passes and like really making like well executed passes and talking more, because we seem to sometimes be lacking. Once we get tired, we'll stop talking. And I think if we just keep working and like conditioning, and like we'll start to keep like we'll have more voice to start talking and just kind of going back to the basics. And
that's the other thing that's kind of happened this year is the amount of different positions people have had to play. I know you initially started out as a wing, back at sweeper now. Mm-hmm. How has that been, moving positions? Because you know, I equate that to like football, where maybe you go from an offensive lineman, now you're playing running back, and that's obviously a huge shift. So how has that kind of maybe taught you some lessons or kind of played into this season?
Well, definitely from back at sweeper, you can see the whole field. So you can see every position, and like your main goal there is to like communicate and tell like who is marking who, like kind of where open spots are, like people who are open, and like you can say like, hey, somebody's open in the middle, like pass, do a give and go, and you can go up the field. And it's definitely been rough having to transition to a position that I've never played before. But I think, you know, if as time has gone on this season, that it's definitely gotten easier to kind of feel like the position and get a groove for it.
And obviously that's a big life lesson, kind of doing what's best for the team. And you guys have probably learned a lot of life lessons about perseverance and staying positive. But what are probably the biggest life lessons that you guys are going to take from this season moving forward as you guys, you know, leave high school here in a few weeks?
I feel like just not taking everything so seriously. Because, I mean, after coming from, you know, 4th place at state and all those high expectations for this year, I mean, obviously we didn't live up to them, but we're having fun with it. Like, we're playing as a team. We're enjoying it. Like, we enjoy playing with each other. Like, our team chemistry is actually pretty good for having quite a bit of people leaving and having quite a few freshmen and sophomores stepping up and playing. So I feel like just not taking everything so seriously and just staying positive and having fun. Just.
Allie, you? Speechless.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it'll come back to you. But, you know, the other thing, too, you know, I talk about, you know, you guys leaving high school here very shortly. Mm-hmm. Has that kind of sunk in yet? You know, graduation is basically a month away as we're looking at here, sitting the 27th of April. You know, graduation's on the 28th. What, you know, that's obviously a big milestone, and, you know, big changes coming up next year as well.
Well, before my injury, personally, I was ready, but I wasn't ready to leave high school. Like, you know, I was like, I want to stay here with my friends. I want to play soccer this season. Like, I want it to be a good season. Well, after my injury and finding out that I'd have to have surgery and already gone through surgery and now going through therapy, I've realized that it's done. Like, my season's done. My high school career basically is over with. So personally for me, I'm excited to go on for the future and just get ready for college, but I don't want to wish it away. Like, I enjoy high school and being with all my friends, so I don't think it's sunk in just yet, but it's getting there.
Yeah, I have definitely mixed feelings. Like, I'm excited to like go to the next level, to like have some fun in college, but like I'm also like sad that like I'm gonna have to make new friends and like all those new things that I'm gonna have to do like on my own. Like, I'm kind of nervous for it, but like kind of want to get out of here. Just kind of both.
The next step of the journey is coming, and obviously you look back, and I even look back now, 17 years ago is when I graduated high school, and it seems like forever ago, and in the grand scheme of life, it's not. But these are definitely easier days where you have much less responsibility. So enjoy them while they last. The last thing that I want to ask you guys before we wrap this up here is, the thing I challenged, and I challenge this to every class, is what kind of legacy are you guys going to leave? And you're obviously leaving a huge impact on these underclassmen. You talked about, a lot of freshmen have stepped up, sophomores and juniors. What kind of lessons and, I guess legacy are you leaving for them as you guys exit this program here within the next month?
I think they definitely, like, after we leave, are going to know, like, next year's, like, these can be fun. Like, sports are fun, and I think that we've really made it that much, like, better this year is because we've really had fun with it. We've just gone out and we've said, hey, like, listen, just do your best. Like, we're not going to be mad at you if you screw up. Like, you just need to know that, like, have fun. Like, you only get this once, and, like, you have 4 years of this. Like, just go out there and go do it.
I mean, the legacy I feel like we'll leave is just, obviously there's always going to be a rebuilding year. Like, you can either take it and be frustrated and have a negative attitude towards it, or you can just be positive and have fun with it, like Ali said. And I feel like we've done really well just staying positive and just playing as a team the best we can. So I feel like they'll take that into next year and the following years and just work well with each other.
Girls, once again, thank you so much for coming on today. Wish you the best of luck in the Pleasant Plains tournament the rest of this week. Obviously, your game tomorrow got moved to 4 o'clock against Athens from 5:45. So if you make sure that you guys go out though a little bit earlier tomorrow, and you can hopefully try to catch a little bit of the JV game as they're taking on Pleasant Plains in the JV game at the exact same time tomorrow. But girl, before we let you go, what's the what anything else that you'd like to add or tell the listeners out there?
Just be grateful. I have, you're gonna have ups and downs, but just go with it and it'll take you somewhere. I'd also like to thank parents for taking me to all my games, teachers for helping out at school, coaches for coaching me. Just thank them all.
Yeah, I think just hang in there. Personally, like, with this injury, it's given me a whole new perspective just to not take things for granted. I'd like to thank my parents and my teachers, my coaches and teammates, especially my teammates and coaches and parents, because with this injury, it's not easy, but, with them, it's gotten a lot easier, so, yeah.
Well, girls, thank you again so much. Like I said, we wish you the best of luck this week, and then next week in your regular season finale against Warrensburg, and then as you prepare for postseason as well. When we return, we'll take a look at the upcoming week for both the BBs and the Bullets.
Next time you're in the market for insurance or financial planning, stop by and see Country Financial Representative Ed Legner at 318 Crossing Drive in Sherman, or give him a call at 217-496-2341. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Williamsville Sports Weekly, presented by Ed Legner, Country Insurance Financial Representative out of Sherman, Illinois. You can visit Ed for all your insurance and financial needs. I said that you would enjoy those interviews, and the amazing thing about it, and I want to focus on Allie and Anni here, is the thing that they talked about is even though based record-wise, you would deem a season not successful based on injuries and everything that has placed them in that point. The cool thing that they said is they go out there every day and they have fun. And ultimately, I think we forget that sometimes as adults and coaches, is that why we started playing a sport, why we started getting involved in it, is because it was fun. And to hear that, even though in a quote-unquote down year, for them to say that, that's pretty amazing.
It is, and that shows. And I know all those senior girls on that team, but that's how they kind of live. In even the classroom, they're real serious, real successful students, but at the same time, they know when it's time to lighten it up a little bit. I would love to play with those guys as my leaders. Like if I was a freshman, sophomore, or junior, I think it'd just be fun to be around them, win, lose, or draw. They're just fun people. That's how they live their life, and they're they'll be successful in life. And the fact that they're leading and showing those other kids that, and these are kids that started on a team that got fourth in the state, so they've seen the top, the bottom of it. I don't know if we're at the bottom of it, but they're probably expecting to do really well this year, and then injuries hit. Even with Anni, I mean, she's ACL tear the first game of the season. That's got to be heartbreaking. But yeah, again, kids, they look into the future. They bounce back so quick, and that's one reason why I'm still glad I'm in education, because you get to see that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't see that, the adult perspective every day. You get to see these kids bounce back. They might have a bad day, next day come in with a big smile on their face. It's a new day for them, and sometimes you forget that.
And that's even the drive force. Someone asked me, because obviously I put in a lot of hours, and what keeps you going? And it's things like that. It's seeing kids grow. It's seeing them overachieve or overcome adversity. And obviously they've been faced with a lot of adversity this season, but a lot of important life lessons who have been taught about, maybe moving a position because it's better for the team, and developing people underneath of you. A lot of great things, and a lot of great things that not only kids but adults can learn from both those interviews we had today.
Oh gosh, absolutely. And I'm telling you, if there's ever a day, and there's many, and we all wake up like, man, calling sick today type thing. Almost every time I'll come in the first hour and we'll just be teaching away, and something will make me think, man, this is pretty cool. And it's a different kid or a different situation, and yeah, I guess if that ever happens, that's when you don't want to do your job. But we're lucky to be around kids and be around just such good kids that are parented well here. And you're right, those girls have a great attitude, and they're going to learn from that situation. And you know what? And I think they look at it. If this is a tough thing in my life, I got a pretty darn good situation going here. So yeah, they're just good kids, and Coach Fandel will tell you he's happy. He's lucky to be around those type of people, and we all are here. Yeah, we're real lucky.
Obviously, you can see them in action. The last regular season game this Friday over at Warrensburg before they start regionals next week at Riverton on the 10th, 4 o'clock start against Mount Zion. A lot of things going on this week. Obviously, you can check the website, wcsd15.org. A few highlights. Track conference meet at Pleasant Plains tonight. A little bit of a change for softball and baseball. Softball's here against Illini Central. Was supposed to be away, 4:30 start. Baseball is at Illini Central. And then JV baseball, a great opportunity to go to the Louisville Slugger Complex and Peoria to take on Peoria Notre Dame. Softball and baseball take on Pleasant Plains tomorrow. Big Sagamore Conference games before this weekend, where they have some big games where baseball is going to have a doubleheader against Southeast, and then varsity softball will be taking on Morton and U-High up in Morton, a great complex up there. So obviously all the events are up on WCSD15.org. Just click on the athletics tab. But until next week, remember, it's always better to be a Bullet.